Hello there. This is Nurse Carol from Stockton, Missouri. And I'm going to talk tonight about, it's the 5 C's to fixing your food. What is really in our food? What is really in, hi Stephanie, what is really in our Starbucks? What is in our chips? What is in what we're eating? I'm enjoying, hi Kathy Wilkie. I'm enjoying, do I need to go back a little bit?
Yep.
My stage manager, you're allowed to interrupt me, honey. Can you move that table? Then we'll push it back. You mean I need to go back like this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do that. I want to know if you can hear me. That's my question. Can everybody hear me? Kathy Wilkie, I'm watching you on my TV. Oh, that's cool. I found out the Tudor family puts me on the TV too. I'm going to have to do that for myself. Hi, Debbie Trader. I'm going to have to figure out how to...
You're close.
Okay, am I close enough?
You're too close.
Oh, I'm too close.
You're
Okay.
right.
Oh, okay.
Usually you're sitting back.
Okay, so
Usually sitting
let me
over
see
there.
if I can, no, huh? Let me see if my husband says I'm too far away, or I'm too close. Go look now, see how I am. Okay, you can hear me good. We have to turn off our fan. We have to turn off the fan on our air conditioner. So, okay, thank you, sweetie. Last week, I got a lot of reaction to having my husband interviewed, and I'm probably going to have another show with him. Our niece Stephanie said Uncle Richard rocks. So I may go on here and interview him and tell us, have him tell about our love story. That may be what I will do. And so, and I may have him come on here again and talk more. He just didn't brag on me enough about my cooking and my food prep. No, joke. But anyway, I got a lot of reactions to the fact that my husband was with me, and I did a college orientation this week. It was a 45-minute health Zoom on what I'm basically going to give you that tonight, what I gave them. And the pastor asked me first to tell a little bit about my husband and how I met him and how we met and how he is in my life. And I have to say this in starting, I am debtor to all the teachers I've had. I do have 50 years of nursing and / counseling experience. For 38 of that years, I worked at a Christian college, and I lived with literally hundreds. I think I totaled up one time, it was around the 4,000 mark of college age girls. And that's why I began studying women's health, because the college girls were sick a lot. They didn't have any energy, and I had more energy than they did. And I was one of their teachers and counselors. And I was an assistant dean there, and I did a lot of counseling. Couldn't even tell you how much more than I ever thought I would. But prior to going to Hiles-Anderson College and working there, I was in school to become a doctor, and I got my nursing training in Chicago. And I then went to I was a charge nurse at a Lutheran General Hospital in Des Plaines, Illinois. Worked on the 3 to 11 shift, and it was a med surge floor, loved it. And that was my thing I really studied, was taking care of post-op patients, which I loved. And I was the evening supervisor. And then during that time, I started going to Loyola Medical School to become a doctor. And I was actually engaged to a doctor, and we did not have the same religious beliefs. I really wanted him to get saved, and he wouldn't. And so right around the time I got rid of him, unengaged from him, I met Mrs. Marlene Evans, and she encouraged me to come out and visit the college. And so I went out to the college and visited the college, and I fell in love with the place. And so I switched from med school to Christian education. But during those years, I was forced into learning a lot about women's health, hormones, etc. A lot of issues with depression, abuse in the background. A lot of kids came from homes where there'd been a lot of hurts and stuff, and they would naturally have some suicidal tendencies. And I started working with people who had bad PMS and started learning about hormones. And Then I began studying about so much thyroid problems because we have no iodine. There's not enough iodine in our foods. And I've done some of that information on previous videos. And so I began studying. I would go to the library and get 40 books on a subject. I mean, and now I don't have to do that, which is wonderful. But I would go get 30 or 40 books, and I started studying fatigue and why college kids were so tired all the time at their age. And of course, you know how college kids' diets are. And so I began studying that. I took care of my brother was a quad, and he got MS when he was 27. And he was not just the normal MS. There is a fast kind of MS. My brother had the fast kind. He was gone in 7 years. I do believe he was exposed to oils. He was a trucker, and he hauled the oils to the ships in Lake Michigan. And he was around a lot of chemicals. He did not have a good diet. He had a terrible diet, and he was around a lot of chemicals. And so I don't know what all that did to him. But he passed away at age 35. He was never able to have children or be married. And and then both my parents contracted cancer, actually 5 weeks apart, and they died 5 weeks apart. And I was their nurse, and so I began studying. I did not know what I know about health now. My folks have been gone 30 years now. And so I began a journey of really trying to seek health and good health. And on my juicing video, I talked about if you really want to do something about cancer or a real serious chronic illness, juicing is a way to heal yourself. And so, but tonight I'm going to talk about people who, just a general principles about how to fix your food. My husband weighed 252, and I weighed 40 pounds more than I weigh now. And both of us are foodies. We love food. And tonight I made a gluten-free cornbread that was delicious. No corn and no gluten, and it still tasted like real cornbread. And I made like a healthy Cracker Barrel type meal. And so I'd like to give you some points on that. Let me give you a couple of announcements. Please don't put your personal information on my timeline or in my Facebook page. Don't tell me what you've been diagnosed with. Please don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. If you want to send me a medical history and have an appointment with me, you can private message me, no problem. By the way, I'm very behind on appointments, and an average appointment takes about 2 hours on the phone. But then after people talk to me on that appointment, we can text back, and I can give questions and answers. And so I had a long appointment today, and I'm only averaging about, I want to say 5 appointments a week, but it can be 10 to 15 hours. In addition to my prep for my video. So private message me. Do not feel I'm ignoring you because I am backed up. My motto is the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So you can't bug me too much. I'm not going to feel harassed. I've had some great appointments with people, and I'm hoping to put some success stories on my Facebook page next week for people who've told me that they've gotten help. I actually have heard from people in Peru. I want to say this to all you missionaries out there that are listening, and I just can't tell you how much I admire you, that you left America and you're out giving the gospel. I talked to somebody from Peru. I talked to somebody, Carlos Donate. I'm going to tell you some more about him. And he is in Guatemala, he and his wife, and I talked to somebody else from Tanzania. I don't know how to say it, but I admire those missionaries so much. And of course, they're in a difficult situation now with the virus, and we need to pray for our missionaries. And so I'm still amazed. I look to the Lord and I say, I can't believe people halfway around the world are listening to this gravelly voice. And I just look at God and I say, only He could do this. My friends that call here on the ranch are calling me the medical missionary, Med Miss. But please, and by the way, my PayPal account is now set up, so that'll help some of you who've wanted to send me money, a love offering for giving you help. Sometimes people message me and they'll ask me questions, and I'll be free in the evening and I'll answer them. And they may take up 45 minutes and I never hear from them again. And I just chalk it up. And some other people call me and say, how much do you charge? I let that be up to you and the Lord. And just, what do you think I should get? Somebody recently sent me a check. They said, this is what I would pay our naturopathic doctor who moved away. And it was very generous. And so the Lord has just been very good to me. And, you know, we need to not abuse people for their knowledge and their education. And we Christians can be like that. I remember my plumber, he was from our church up in Hammond, and nobody wanted to pay him what he was worth. And plumbers, they are knowledgeable. And that is not something my husband and I can do when it comes to plumbing. And so we always paid him more. You know, he would ask for a low amount, but we'd always give him more because he was so good at what he was doing. And so I thank you for those of you who have sent me a love offering. I appreciate it. I thank you for those of you that just, I told the missionaries I wouldn't charge them, and they still want to give me things. But I'm very dedicated to wanting to help anybody who's in the ministry, anybody who's trying to work and live for God. Okay, I want to have a prayer. Father, I thank you, Lord, for your goodness to us. I thank you for our wonderful country, Lord. It's still a great country. I ask, Lord, that you'd lead and guide our president. I pray that you would bind Satan, Lord, in Washington, D.C. And I ask, Lord, you'd give great strength and wisdom to Mr. Trump and Mr. Pence. I pray that you'd be with them and guide them, protect them, put a protection around their families, Lord. I ask that you'd guide my words tonight. And, Lord, I don't want to offend anybody, but I would like to help some people, Lord. And the truth sometimes is offensive. I ask, Lord, that you'd give me strength and wisdom and guide my words. And you know, Lord, sometimes my thinking is not real clear, and I ask that you'd help me to be clear. In Jesus' name, amen. So the 5 C's of fixing your food. And they all start with a C so that it's easy to remember. And number 1 is cut the sugar. We are a nation who is hooked on sugar. And it didn't happen by accident. In fact, so many, I don't want to say the government, but so many powers that be have controlled what's gone into our foods for so many years. And sugar in the form of fructose, sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, there's different types of corn syrup. All of the sugar is really hurting us. Not only is it hurting us with our weight, but it's hurting our health. It's, you know, isn't it strange? We give our kids candy and then we complain about, you know, we don't have enough money for our budget. And then we have to take them to the dentist, and then we have to pay for cavities. And dental insurance is not cheap if you have it, and most of us can't afford it because it's $1,000. You have to do a deductible of $1,000 before you even get some help. And a crown can be $1,000, $1,500. And some people have very hard teeth and have no trouble. Other people have soft teeth and they have trouble. Some people are sugar people, and I was one of them. I grew up and I loved sugar. And actually, sugar acts in the brain the same section that heroin and alcohol work. And so sugar is very addicting. I was asked to speak at a high school back in Hammond, and I just for the fun of it, it's been 4 or 5 years, I Googled dangers of sugar, and up came a lecture, 75 dangers of sugar. And I was like, wow. And I took a pound of sugar over to the high school, and I was showing the girls, and I was teaching them about what is in so many things that we eat. And so the first thing to do is cut the sugar. Now I got to stop here and say thank you to the tutors. In 2016, we took a trip down to see my husband's brother, Stephen and Beth, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they are an amazing couple. They think out of the box. They find out the real facts. She happens to be an RN, and my brother-in-law was a very dedicated, faithful, almost 4 decades. He was a rural mail carrier, and actually carried a bag on his shoulder and walked. And they're now retired. They're in their 70s, but they're still very active. She goes to yoga. She's very active. He does not only his yard, but several yards. He does gardening and yard work and landscaping, and they're busy. They're not sitting in a wheelchair is my point. And so when we went down there, they told us they were following this basically a ketogenic diet. And they said, you want to you want to get rid of the sugar. And the sugar is so bad. Well, I had already done some of that. But I tell you what they taught me. They showed me how many carbs were in things that you would never assume that would be carbs. Now, when I talk about carbs, vegetable carbs are good for you. A half a sweet potato is good for you. It may have sugar, but it's got fiber. And by the way, did you know there's like 17 B vitamins in a sweet potato? They're one of the best things you can eat. but don't load it up with butter and brown sugar. And you could put cinnamon and a little organic butter, but we add sugar to everything, or it's hidden. When the doctors, there are still doctors that think you need to go on a low-fat diet for heart disease. It's sugar. Sugar is killing us. The top 2 diseases, I'm going to talk about this in a forthcoming video, the top 2 diseases in America are heart number 1, cancer number 2 for both men and women. And sugar is just, it's dangerous. We're talking about candy, cookies, chips, pop, all of that. I happen to see online, I have a friend who's in North Carolina, Dr. Living Good. And this is a free book. You can go to his Facebook page, and it's really, his name is really Dr. Living Good. Living Good, Livinggood. And he will send you this free book. And it really goes right along with what I was encouraged to do by the tutors. And that's where I got the 5 C's. I'm giving Dr. Living Goods. And by the way, he's a chiropractor, and he's in North Carolina, and he's a Christian, and he treats friends of mine. And so he's got the goods, and he'll develop each C. I'm not going to develop each C extensively, but I will tell you this. About 10 years ago, I started learning how to make desserts with like stevia, monk fruit. I did used to use a little maple syrup. I don't use that anymore. I'm not against that. I think that's okay. My husband and I have some health conditions. We just don't use anything that's real sweet. And except for the monk fruit. The monk fruit is from a monk fruit tree. It's a fruit, and it is just a lot like sugar. But it doesn't do damage to your body, your heart, your blood vessels. So I have a great Trimtastic chocolate zucchini cake. I've got Cry No More brownies that have okra in it. I have a pumpkin cake, and that's where the tutors came in. They showed me some definite recipes I still use, and they were following this because it was giving them more energy and making them feel better. And so there's a many years ago, a doctor came out with what he calls the metabolic diet, and it's exactly what America could use. Now you got to be careful with the keto, because you don't want to do too much meat. You got to balance it out, and you got to add a lot of vegetables. But my point 1 first is cut the sugar. Get it out and stop and go if you can go off of it and like go into withdrawal and just do that one thing. I have a friend who came here with, he's been ill, and he came to see the lady who does my biomeridian scan, and he was eating, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 candy bars a day. And he came here and he said, okay, I'm serious about doing something about my health. And he went off the candy and the sugar, and he goes, I have so much more energy. And there's a lot of, I'm not making any money off of anything that I refer, but Trim Healthy Mama has great dessert recipes, and there's a way to cut the sugar. I think I told you when I got mono 25 years ago, I got rid of the 5 whites: white sugar, white flour, white salt, white bread, and white milk. And those all have, other than the salt, they all have sugar in them. And so now I make these almond flour chocolate chip cookies. I make the pumpkin cake. The pumpkin coffee cake is delicious. Beth Tudor gave that recipe to me. And so anything you can do to start getting off of sugar. And sadly, I tell you this because I don't want you to beat yourself up. When I lived in the dorm for over 25 years, and you know what I ate like a teenager. I remember going to Dairy Queen with a carload of girls, and I always had a lot of fun. And I would go to Dairy Queen, and I always ordered a peanut butter parfait, double the nuts and double the fudge. And is it any wonder that I had to have I had to have a root canal, and I had several health issues because, and not only that, they say you are what you eat. Well, I should have been a big pepperoni pizza because that was my favorite pizza. Now I do make myself some good pizza, but it's all homemade. And so anyway, I don't want you to beat yourself up. And remember, I've been on this journey for 30 years. And so I will post, I promised this last week and I didn't do it, but I will post my pumpkin cake recipe for you because I know where that is. And you know, it's got real pumpkin in it. And what's really good, you don't have to do this, you can use pumpkin from the can. But pumpkin, you can get a fresh pumpkin and use fresh pumpkin. You can make your own pumpkin latte. Lattes, that reminds me, under point 1, I want to talk about Starbucks. I feel very sad, and I'm not gloating because we have been scammed. We are paying, and I'm not, but a lot of our young people are paying $5 to $10 a cup for a whole cup full of chemicals. I mean, it is sad. I read today that Starbucks would not publish its ingredients. They were all secret. Right there, that tells you that there's something suspicious if they won't put their ingredients online. Now they've posted them. I looked them up today, and I have here, let's see, there it is. Okay, I don't want to get into this today because I don't have time. But next week, I'm going to talk about what's behind some of what's been done to our food. But let's face it, we've all seen advertisements on TV where they're pulling drugs because they cause cancer. They're pulling, talcum powder causes ovarian cancer. They're pulling all these things off the shelves. Zantac, Vioxx and Celebrex went off the shelves. We know that there is medication and foods out there that are not good. We know there's pesticides. Well, Monsanto, all of the milk that Starbucks use is Monsanto milk. It's not hormone free. Now, okay, you can get coconut milk, yes, if it's healthy. I don't know what's in it because there are some emulsifiers in coconut milk that it can help you gain weight. But anybody that has anything with dairy in it, it's Monsanto milk. Monsanto means it's made with genetically modified corn-fed cows that are very big and fat because they've been given antibiotics, that they've been given corn products, and that's one of the things they use. I looked up some of the ingredients, and of course there's sugar, there's corn syrups, there's preservatives, there's thickeners. You say, what's wrong with a thickener? Well, every chemical has within it ingredients that are endocrine disruptors. Last week I was in our coffee shop in Stockton, and 3 extremely, I'm talking way bigger than I ever dreamed of being, 3 teenagers were standing and waiting for their drinks. And I was just a little bit taken back. I felt sorry for them. I said, I didn't say anything. I just said hi to the girls and I went on by. Well, here came their drinks, and it was a very large, 16 ounce. It looked like it had chocolate and ice cream and whipped cream, and they were some kind of a coffee drink. And every one of them got one of those huge drinks. And sadly, I say, they waddled out of the store. And it breaks my heart. This isn't a criticism. This is a sadness for our young people and what shape they're in. I was never that size when I was a kid. Now, yes, I did a lot of damage to myself, and I gained weight, and then I couldn't get it off. And so I looked up the caramel macchiato. Wait till you hear this. All I did, you can go online and look this up. And I feel like I'm a bad guy for telling the truth. Paul said in Galatians, am I your enemy because I tell you the truth? I mean, people, they are like emotional about their Starbucks. It's like, I have to have it. Well, yeah, it's a drug because sugar acts like a drug on our bodies. And of course, it's got other things in it, but I looked them up. You can look them all up yourself. I just looked, there was like 20 of them on. They said they gave the top 20 drinks. I took one of the number 1 drinks is a caramel macchiato. It's a brewed espresso, sugar, natural flavors. We don't know what that is. Vanilla syrup, potassium sorbate, citric acid, high fructose corn syrup, by the way, which is made from genetically modified corn, which is really bad for us. It's bad for the belly, it's weight, it's bad for the intestines. Then there's more corn syrup, a different kind. Then there's butter, there's carrageen, and by the way, I looked up carrageen, and if it's not carrageen, is an emulsifier that produces obesity. non-fat dried milk, natural flavors, again, salt, caramel color. And by the way, Starbucks did pull one of their caramel colors that people complained about, that it was causing that it was cancer producing, and they had proved it, but they still have caramel color in the caramel macchiato. There's distilled monoglycerides, and I think that's it. Now, the green tea latte, you would think it was healthy. It's got 3 kinds of sugar, corn syrup, potassium sorbate, maltodextrin, natural flavors, and glycerol monooleate, and then the little green tea. And I didn't look them all up, but suffice it to say, it's, Holly, you're saying you can't hear me, but other people are not telling me that. I'm interrupting myself. Is everybody hearing me okay? I got my sound up, and maybe I'm sitting too far away. I'll move it a little closer, but I think it's okay. Let me know if you can't hear me. So, cut the sugar. Number 2 is crank up the fats. And yes, you can hear me. Thank you, Peggy. Can hear me perfectly. Good. Holly, got to be something on your end because everybody's telling me they can hear me. Starbucks just arrived in El Salvador. Ha! Visited once, never again. Okay, look, you can get your own natural ingredients and make your own Starbucks at home. Be number 1, cheaper. But do you believe we have been paying? I think I've had one. Okay, I have gotten a Americano, which is just plain coffee. But Starbucks coffee is not my favorite coffee. It never has been. But I had a couple friends, that's always where they wanted to go, so I would go there. And I would get an Americano, which is just basically espresso and hot water. But their coffee is just, to me, it's too strong. They roast their beans really, to me, they roast them too harshly. And so it's not, I think I had one time I've had a hazelnut coconut milk latte. And by the way, it was sugar-free, but still you get the NutraSweet. You get the artificial chemical if you do the sugar-free. So, I went ahead and did it, but can you believe we will pay our country, our young people, our next generation, who I love and invest in, will go pay $6 or $7 or $8 for a Bente or whatever it is drink at Starbucks, and it's a cup of chemicals. I mean, that is heartbreaking. I mean, we have just been blinded. We have been scammed. And I mean, and we got to stop it. I wish there was a way we could completely just have a mass thing. No Starbucks. I won't even go into the political ramifications of it. Okay, I'm trying to be medical and spiritual. Next week, I am going to discuss what's happening in our world about medications, and I'm going to talk about what medications. I'm going to talk about what pharmaceutical companies are doing to us. I'm going to talk about, and I'm not mad at anybody that's in the medical profession. I love my profession. I've got 2 nieces. I got a niece and a nephew that are nurses, the tutors, and I pray for them every day because they're on the front lines with this virus, and nobody really knows what's going on. The virus seems like it's evolved into something else. Other people are dying with weird symptoms. And so I pray for them. And there's some good doctors out there, but folks, our healthcare system and our food supply, it's very damaged. And so you've got to make some choices. And one thing you can do, I drink organic black coffee, and I do love coffee. I do drink my greens, and I drink water, and I don't drink pop. But my husband and I get this most delicious organic, and it's mold-free coffee. And by the way, Bulletproof's a very good coffee with coconut oil and butter in it. And Bulletproof coffee is good because it's not moldy. Coffee beans can be moldy, and that can cause problems with your health and not know it. It can actually cause issues with allergies. And so the world we love coffee. My husband and I, we love it. We sit and read our Bible every morning, and we have our French press pot of organic coffee. So I'm not against coffee, but I want to tell you, we've been scammed. Okay, so back to number 2, crank up the fats. And when I say that, again, we've been told not to eat fat. Well, it's the type of fat. This is coconut oil, avocados. My husband and I had the greatest breakfast the other day. We had sourdough bread, which has 1/20th of the gluten that average wheat bread has. So it's very small amount. And sourdough bread has a probiotic sourdough starter in it. So we had a slice of that with, I took the avocado, I smashed it, I put lemon juice, a small amount of cayenne, salt and pepper. And then we put the avocado mashed on the toast, and then we put a piece of, 2 pieces of turkey bacon and a slice of tomato. And that was our breakfast, and it was delicious. And again, all the good fats, crank them up because your body needs fat. And see, we've been told for years, don't eat fat. Well, now, I'm not talking about a whole bunch of bacon, folks. Bacon can be very deadly. And by the way, when you eat bacon, you've got the sulfite issue. You've got sodium nitrates, and sodium nitrates are the preservatives, the chemicals that go to making the bacon last. Well, those nitrates, those can cause stomach cancer. And so I look for what they call nitrate-free bacon. If I have it, I don't have it very often, but I do eat it. I love bacon. And so, but olive oil, EVVO, almond butter, all your nuts. You've got chia seeds. See, we forget about nuts and seeds, and seeds are much more popular than they used to be. Dr. Josh Axe, he's a good doctor, and he's got a lot of recipes for hemp seeds and chia seeds. There's a chia seed pudding you can have. Pumpkin seeds, by the way, are excellent. Pumpkin seeds, walnuts. All of your nuts pretty much are excellent, and because they've got fat in them. I think walnuts are one of the highest because they've got the good fat. And so 1, cut the sugars. 2, crank up the fats. 3, clean up the protein. And this is where I'm very limited on what kind of meat I eat, because I don't want the hormones and I don't want the chemicals and the antibiotics. Folks, antibiotics make those cows fat. I think I don't remember if I told this. 30 years ago, when I was in the midst of really learning about food, I was standing in a Hallmark with my friend Jane Grafton, and we were discussing I said, I'm going to go out to the Amish country in Indiana and get some chickens that are free range, that are no hormones. They haven't been given hormones or chemicals. And while I was standing there, the lady at the cash register lady said, I know what you mean. And I said, well, what do you mean you know what I mean? She said, I have a friend, and they raise cattle, and they're right down here off of 41 in Cherville, Indiana, which was like 15, 20 minutes from where I was standing. And she said, they raise cows, but they won't eat any of the cows that they raise. And I said, really? And she said, yes. And my son works with their son on the ranch, on the farm, and they raise these cows, and they give the cows antibiotics. And just before the cows are getting ready to go to market, they stuff them full of grains, corn, and growth hormone, because when the people buy, when they come to the slaughterhouse and they want a big cow, it's because they can make more money, because it'll make more meat. So all of a lot of our cows, and that's why you see these grass-fed beef farms now that have come out. A lot of our meat, I can't tell you percentages, I don't know that, but I will guarantee you, I grew up with you were supposed to eat your red meat and drink your milk. And that was big in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And I didn't know any of this until, I want to say more in the 90s, I started learning. I was 45 years old. So it was 1995 when I really started studying all this. And so this lady proceeds to tell me that the whole family, they won't eat the cows that they produce and sell. Well, then my friend Jane went down to her brother's farm and chicken farm, and she was helping him one summer. It's been a long time ago. And he said, I'm sorry about all the flies. I'm sorry, Jane. And she goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I saved $15,000 by not putting fly pesticide in the chicken feed. So when you eat a Kentucky Fried Chicken breast, we don't know what you're eating. You're eating what it ate plus what was injected into it. And so I started doing venison about 10 years ago, maybe 15. I started introducing some not grain-fed, but grass-fed deer. I started doing some deer because my doctor thought if I ate more protein, I'd lose some weight and lose more weight. And so as a method to try and lose weight, I cleaned up the protein. Okay, so you can I can go to my Walmart and get grass-fed beef. I can get a hormone-free chicken. And of course, it's better if you can get it from a farm, and if it's better if you can get from, you know, from the Amish are very good about how they produce their chickens and their eggs and things. And so, but I use organic eggs. I do clean meat, only clean meat. If my budget doesn't allow for it, then I'm going to limit my meat and I'm going to crank up the vegetables. And some of you, I know you're out there, you're having a very hard time. You're trying to feed your kids and you're trying to have young, you know, kids be healthy. But now my Walmart and my Sam's both sell, Sam's was selling grass-fed buffalo. And I love buffalo far more than I love beef. And buffalo is a leaner, it's a sweeter and a not as acidic type meat. And if you've got any kind of problems with gout, you've got to really cut your meat down. You know, we go to a restaurant, they give you a 16-ounce steak. And really all you need is a little 4-ounce piece. So, you know, it's you know, clean up the protein, but watch how much you eat of it. And by the way, Aldi's, I go to Aldi's, I go to Walmart, I go there. And when you don't know where to go, take a day or an afternoon and go to these places and start and just learn the store. I did not know Aldi's well but the last 5 years I got to know Aldi's better. And Aldi's is even getting better with their quality of food. Better all the time, and so you can get quite a lot. Now they run out sometimes, and we're in a small town, and so we don't, you know, sometimes they don't have everything you want. But my Bolivar, which is it's only about 10,000 people, and it's 30 minutes from here. I can get a lot of grass-fed and clean meat at my Walmart and my Aldi's. And by the way, we have a ranch out here where you can get. I'm looking into this where you can get grass-fed all the way. No, they don't finish it off with corn. Now you say, well, Carol, what's wrong with corn? Well, what's happened is our corn is genetically modified. It's from a lab, Monsanto. What's happening is that we're forming foods with chemicals that are genetically changing. And when you eat that stuff, it affects your own genes. So we take the corn, we spray it with pesticides. We put it in the silo all summer. It gets moldy in the silo. It's hot. We take the moldy corn and we give it to the cows. Then we take the cow and we butcher it, and then we eat that, and it's called a mycotoxin. By the way, all of this you can verify online. And if you're interested, Dr. Joseph Mercola, Dr. Josh Axe, I know the doctors that you can check out. And Rachel White says, what's right with corn? Right now, I have had one corn on the cob this year because it was given to me at a meal where and it came from a farmer that goes to our church. So I did eat it and I loved it. But corn is really scary. It's, and like I said, genetically modified. If you're having a garden, look for heirloom seeds, or heritage seeds. You want the seeds that haven't been corrupted. So back to our clean up the protein. You know, look for chemical free, all right, hormone free, corn free, grass fed. That's the kind of thing you're looking for. And if you can get organic, it's the best. So that's the scoop on clean up the protein. 4 is care about the nutrients. Care about your nutrients. Now, under care about your nutrients, I put my money into a lot of greens. I learned this from several doctors and several medical books, but greens kill mutated cells. Greens, your spinach, your kale, your spring greens, all of your greens. Hi, Brother Donate. I see you there. All your greens, I put my money into greens. I don't go cheap on my greens. I have a big salad. I try to have a big salad every day, and sometimes I will even have a big salad at lunch and a small salad at supper. I might have what I call my cucumber salad, which I love in the summer, which is sliced cucumbers, sliced onion, a small amount of tomato, small amount of avocado with olive oil and vinegar. Delicious little salad. I make a lot of different veggie salads with just raw veggies in the summer because the vegetables are so much fun to get. But greens, if you do smoothies, I'm not a real smoothie person, but if you do smoothies, put the spinach in, put the kale in, and get the nutrients into your kids. Your packaged food, how long's it been in the box? How long has it been in the can? Now, I do occasionally use some, especially if it's a time where I'm in a hurry or I will use some organic beans that are in cans, but I try to soak my own beans. If I use them, I don't use a lot of them, but when I use them, when I make my husband's 5-bean chili, which he loves, I try to do everything they're organic. I soak them, I cook them myself, I do everything from scratch. But you care about nutrients. Just like this is a cup of chemicals, the big number one, not the big number one chips that people like are Doritos. They like the Cool Ranch Doritos. I used to talk to my teenagers about this. And your bag of Doritos, Cool Ranch, has got a list of ingredients about 3 inches high. That's a red flag. When you see something has that many ingredients, you're eating a bag of probably chemicals, preservatives, salts, very little food. I don't think you could really, I guess you could stretch it and say there's a food item in there. Probably some dairy on the cheese. But again, look what's been done to our dairy. It's full of hormones because it's from the cows that we've injected all this stuff into. You're caring about nutrients. Get in lots of veggies, and you want to eat fresh fruit, but you want to eat fresh fruit wisely. We really don't need a lot of fruit because it's too much natural sugar. You got to be careful with it. But berries are wonderful. Berries, limes, lemons. I do eat a half an apple. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. We love a half an apple with almond butter. That's one of our favorite snacks. And we actually eat the Granny Smith ones now because they have a little less sugar in them. And my husband and I are both, my husband's a mild diabetic, we think because of serving in the Air Force during the Vietnam era. We don't know, but he keeps his sugars way low. They're under 100. They're sometimes 90 or less. And so we don't eat anything that's like, if we eat a banana, okay, once in a while we're hungry for a banana, but it's a third of a banana because there's a lot of sugar in there. But why not eat a third of a banana instead of a candy bar? Or a handful of M&Ms, or a Milky Way, or whatever your thing is. All of those things, remember, you are what you eat. Every living cell is made up of the building blocks that you put right in here. That, fresh air, exercise, and water. And so whatever you ingest, is going to go in, and it's going to take effect. Number 5 is curb consumption. Curb consumption, meaning eat less. Now, my husband and I, basically, we intermittent fast. From after supper, we will have either a small amount of nuts and some berries, or once in a while we'll have some berries and some goat yogurt, like around 7. But then we don't eat again until almost noon. So we intermittent fast, and actually it's really good for your body. Jesus fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and it didn't kill him. And so it isn't going to hurt you to curb your consumption. There's actually a lot of studies out now that people who eat less calories live a lot longer. Now, it's hard to do that if you're having a lot of cravings. And if you're having a lot of cravings, it could be, my husband and I, we found out that parasites, they crave sugar and carbs. And we've been on anti-parasitic medicine that has really helped with that. And so you can cut down if you eat a big salad. It's amazing to me when I see people's Thanksgiving dinners, and I started this 25 years ago, easy. I always ask my husband, what carbs do you want for Thanksgiving? I'm only going to make like 2. So which 2 do you want? And, but here's what we do at Thanksgiving. There's a bowl of corn on the table, a bowl of potatoes, mashed potatoes with gravy, a big thing of sweet potatoes with brown sugar and marshmallows and butter all over it. Let's see, that's brown. Let's see what else is down there. Rolls, white rolls usually, or if they're wheat rolls, they're not the wheat that's healthy. And so you got the bread, you got the potatoes, you got 2 kinds of potatoes, you got the corn. And then you add the cranberry salad with a bunch of sugar in it, and there's nothing green on the table. And I would take everywhere I go, when I'm part of a party or we had Deaf and Awareness Week, I bring a big salad You'd be shocked. In fact, I don't like to look at a plate that has no green on it. It's just all brown. It's like, ugh, brown, tan, beige, yellow. I mean, I want to see green. I want to see red. I want to see red peppers and orange peppers and yellow peppers. And I want to see green beans. And I want to see, I made a vegetables. I've learned this from Angie Zachary. You take your Brussels sprouts and cut them in thirds so they're thin. Saute them in butter. And about halfway through, and a little lemon. Halfway through, add the tips of asparagus. Delicious. And saute in butter or olive oil, either one. And by the way, butter, it needs to be organic. I'm really spoiled. I'm out here where I can get the Amish, unpasteurized, fresh, homemade butter. And 2 big rolls of it came in the door today because my lady picks it up for me and brings it to me. And there's no chemicals, no preservatives, nothing. It is delicious. And I keep 1 pound in the freezer. And now other people use ghee, Ghee, which is a healthier form of butter. And you can get organic butter, and I do use a little of it. I don't use a lot of it, but I do love it. And there's just so many things that you can make with lots of greens. And not only do I eat the greens, I have a jar of barley green. Now I'm taking superfoods, and my husband and I have been on it ever since we're going to celebrate our 22nd anniversary, and we eat our greens in powder form every day. We just put it in water and we drink it right down. And I believe one reason I'm still alive, and of course it's because of the Lord, but I believe a lot of it is because of my diet. And so, not an exhaustive study at all. Go on Facebook to Dr. Living Good's Facebook page, and he'll send you the book free. You don't even have to pay for postage. How good of a man is that? And, that's the kind of person wants to really help people. And and he has the 5 C's in here, and he also has a little 21-day meal plan that he talks about. And there's lots and lots that you can learn. Dr. Joseph Mercola, Dr. Josh Axe, Hallelujah Acres, anything that you can do to get the chemicals out, and don't be scammed. Make your own. I see people, they make their own coffee stations. I have my own barista, Richard Tudor, because I'm not a morning person. He gets up every morning. He mixes our greens for me. Then after we have our greens, we have an enzyme we take on an empty stomach, and then we go from our greens to our organic coffee. And he has a coffee station, and we have our organic coffee. And sometimes we put MCT oil in it, which is it's a high quality of like coconut oil, which is very healthy for you and for your heart. And we use a little bit of Amish butter, and I use butter. I'll do the butter and a stevia in mine, but usually I just drink it black with nothing in it. And so you can actually find there are hazelnut pods that are there's 1 carb in them and no chemicals. You can find the creamers. Go to Aldi's and look. Go to Walmart and look. Go to your groceries. Go to Whole Foods. People criticize Whole Foods, and I realize that they're pricey. But you can, number one, go to the store and experience the store. Don't buy your regular groceries there, but go experience the store. Get the samples. Go when they're giving samples, if they ever do that again after the virus. But I was teaching people, I love goat cheese, and people think it tastes weird. Well, there's like 20 kinds of goat cheese. There's some delicious goat cheese. There's cheddar, there's mozzarella. It's not all sour like people think it is. And, but I taste test things at Whole Foods. I learn about new fruits and vegetables at Whole Foods. Jicama is something I put in my salads because I learned about that at Whole Foods. You don't have to buy everything there. And by the way, they do sell some bad foods. Their bakery's deadly. Their bakery's full of stuff with sugar and all kinds of, they're beautiful. They've got some gorgeous desserts there. But you can go there and experience the store, buy what's on sale, get things there you can't get anywhere else. They're actually having delicious different kinds of cream cheese made out of all kinds of ingredients. Now they've got yogurt made out of coconut milk. They've got yogurt made out of almond milk. You've got to watch the sugar again. So your 5 C's are cut the sugar, Crank up the fats, good fats. Let's see, what's number 3? Clean up the protein. Clean up the protein. And care about nutrients. Get the greens, get lots of vegetables. I love asparagus roasted with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, or I will wrap a piece of turkey bacon around it. I love that. And the 5 is curb your consumption. My husband and I eat way less than we've ever eaten. Now, my husband had a problem with bad parasites we did not know he had. And if you've been overseas, you can get those. If you've been, he was in Korea and Japan. I was in Israel. We both feel we picked up some things there. We did not know we had them. They made me hold on to all my weight. And I've dropped 20 pounds since I've been on my anti-parasitic medicine, about a pound, half a pound a week. My husband also is not, he would be like starving after he ate a huge meal. He would be eating nonstop, foraging all the time, always in the closet, nuts, cheese, whatever he could eat, give me more food. And now he's more normal because his parasites aren't eating everything. So if you want to pray for us that we kill all of these little invaders that we've got living with us. We had a fungus, and my husband goes, I'm a fungi. And everybody laughs, and we say we are superior because our parasites have been eating organic for years. So in closing, there is a way to fix your food. And by the way, there are places, and you can do it, and you'll spend less money in another way. My husband and I don't get sinuses or flu or sick. I don't have to spend any money on doing that. I don't go to doctors. And if I'm sick one day, if I don't feel, like say I don't feel good, I'll just fast all day, and I'll either drink bone broth or I'll get my fresh juice out. And within a day or so, I'm feeling great again. I mean, I'm doing a regular work week at 70. More so than I dreamed I would be doing as I was retired. So in closing, the 5 C's, and listen, folks, you can do it. You can make a change no matter how old you are, where you are, what you're doing. You can do it, and take a baby step today. Thank you so much, and see you next week. I'll be on Tuesday night again, Lord willing. Bye-bye.